Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. And then at about 7 p.m. Eastern Time, on Thursday, January 20th, we got two mega stories in college basketball. And if you were expecting the 7 p.m. window on Thursday, January 20th, to provide us with two of the best stories of the college basketball season, well, shout out to you. You should go down to your local gas station, buy yourself a Powerball ticket, because you can see into the future. Because who had Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, as one of the biggest college basketball windows that we've seen all year? Only that's exactly what happened. Two major stories. Let's talk about them. And as I said, I'm a glasses half full guy. And so because of it, we're going to start with the positive. And because we are starting with the positive, let me ask you this. Did you see what my boy Mike effing Woodson did? That is right. Indiana Hoosiers at home against their biggest rival, Purdue. Purdue coming off that major, marquee, huge win at Illinois on Monday afternoon, Martin Luther King Day afternoon. They come into Assembly Hall. They come into Assembly Hall with a 9-game winning streak. They come in as a team that we think is good enough to make a Final Four and win a national championship potentially. And instead, what happens? My boy Mike effing Woodson happened. My boy Rob Finney happened. My boy Xavier Johnson happened. Final score, 68-65. Indiana beats Purdue, snaps a 9-game losing streak to Purdue. Indiana improves to 14-4 overall. How about my boy Mike Woodson? That's right, Mike effing Woodson, baby. Let's talk about this. First of all, I'll say this about Indiana. So obviously, look, when Mike Woodson was hired, I drew the line in the sand. At first, I didn't like it. Then, as the summer went on, as he convinced Trace Jackson Davis to return, as he basically crushed the transfer portal, brought in Xavier Johnson, brought in Miller Kopp, signed Tamar Bates, who's obviously not a transfer portal guy, but he was a 5-star player coming out of high school, I switched allegiance on Mike Woodson. Didn't like the hire, then loved the hire. And so because of it, I only bring it up to say, I've been watching Indiana very closely this year. And even though they came into Thursday at 13-4 overall, what I can definitively tell you is that they are probably a little bit better than their record, okay? So as I said, came into Thursday 13-4 overall. But again, I've watched most of their marquee games, and what I would say is they're a pretty good basketball team. You go back and look at their losses. First of all, early in the season, first road game of the year, they lose at Syracuse. Not great. But it's worth noting, they did lose in double overtime in a game that they easily could have won in their first true road game. From there, they play Wisconsin, who is currently atop the Big Ten standings as I record here. They were up 22 points in the first half, end up losing that game. And they lost last week at Iowa in a game that they led by 7 at halftime. And so I bring it up because they were 13-4 coming into Thursday night. But 3 of the 4 losses were totally explainable. And even the 4th loss, it was to Penn State by 3 on the road. Penn State's not terrible. First-year head coach Micah Shrewsbury, they play really hard. And so I've actually thought that Indiana is probably a little bit better than their record. But we were still looking for that one big, marquee, major win that made you say, Mike effing Woodson and the boys have arrived. They are here. They are ready to compete for their first NCAA tournament berth in forever. And that's exactly what happened on Thursday night. As this was the biggest win, I can't even remember the last time that Indiana won a game this big, this meaningful, with fans in the stands, on the road, at home. I know they had a couple nice wins last year, kind of in the Archie Miller era, and it's no disrespect to Archie. You guys know I like Archie. But it's one thing to win in an empty arena or in a road venue or in this or in that. It's another thing to beat a top 5 Purdue team at home, snap a 9-game losing streak to your biggest rival or one of your biggest rivals. I don't know who Indiana's biggest rival is. Let's assume it is. And it's another thing to do it at home against the top 5 Purdue team, which is exactly what Indiana did on Thursday night. What I think is especially important is, and this is really important if you're an Indiana fan or if you're somebody who has at least followed Indiana, it's not as though everything went right? Because like sometimes a team wins a game and you just know it's their night. Like every bounce goes their way, every break goes their way. That's not what happened at all. When you look at this game for Indiana, it was bad early. It was really bad early in this game against Purdue where you thought they might get blown out of the gym. I watched this game from start to finish. This was a game where they fell down 5-0 early. And then it was 7-1. And then it was 12-6. And then it was 16-8 about midway through the first half. And you're sitting there and saying, this is the Indiana team that we've seen for years. Big game, marquee, at-home rival, not going to get this W. And instead what happens? They just kind of slowly chip away, confident. Don't let the moment get to them. And they slowly chip away to the point that they're up at the half. Now, part of that was Rob Finney. I tweeted it out. Rob Finney basically had the MJ against Portland Trail Blazers, just shrugging his shoulders. Rob Finney had maybe the best game of his life. But it's worth noting that you fall down early, and it's not like it got better late throughout the game. Trayce Jackson-Davis, who I believe is probably, he's been one of the top 15 players in college basketball this year. Now, we did our Torres Media All-American first and second team on Thursday morning. You can go check that out at AaronTorresOnline.com. Trayce Jackson-Davis did not make the first or second team. He would have made a third team if there had been one. But Trayce Jackson-Davis only played 11 minutes. He only had 4 points. He only had 1 rebound. This from a guy that is essentially, I believe, an All-American. Certainly an All-Big Ten first-team player. And that is what makes this Indiana win so special, is that you fall behind early. Your best player is essentially out for the entire game. And you still figure out a way to win as other guys step up. I just mentioned it. Rob Finney, 17 first-half points when his team absolutely needed him. 20 points for the game. Xavier Johnson, who has been very criticized by the Indiana fan base, and I think it's justified, Indiana fans. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just stating facts. Xavier Johnson has been criticized. He has 18 points in a win. And so when I look at this win, you talk about a marquee mega win from my boy Mike Woodson. Oh, it's there, baby. And what I would say is this. Listen, I'm not going to sit here, and it's January 20th, January 21st when you guys are listening. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, oh my God, Indiana basketball has changed forever. It's 1987 and Bob Knight and Steve Alford are there all over again. It's 1980 and Bob Knight and Mike Woodson and Isaiah Thomas are there all over again. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is Indiana has been competing really, really, really hard. I think it even goes back to last year. Like, we can crush Archie Miller, and I like Arch, like I said. I don't think that he should have been brought back. I understand why they moved on. They competed really hard last year, and then this year, as far as this season is concerned, they have basically taken care of business, but they can't get over the hump. And so I don't want to go too crazy. I don't want to pretend like this is the game that changes Indiana basketball forever. But there is a certain group from a certain generation that does remember Indiana being good, and as crazy as it sounds, I'm in my mid-30s. I barely remember Indiana being good. And so I'm not going to say that this is the game, and this is the moment, and this is that. What I will say, though, is pretty simple, is that this is the type of win that you need, and this is the type of win that Indiana right now has the chance to build on. Now, will they? I don't know. We're going to find out. It's up to Indiana. It's not up to me. It's not up to you. It's up to Indiana. But they actually have a very manageable schedule. They're currently 12-0 at home. Well, guess what? Their next 2 games are at home, and their next 2 games are winnable. They play Michigan on Sunday. Michigan's not very good right now. Not saying Juwan Howard can't figure it out. Just saying that Michigan isn't very good right now. Then they play Penn State at home next Wednesday. Then they play at Maryland, Illinois at home, Northwestern on the road. And so I bring it up because Indiana, as I speak, with the win on Thursday night against Purdue, 14-4, okay? 14-4. And on top of being 14-4, their next 5 games are all very winnable. 3 at home, where Indiana is currently 12-0. 2 games on the road at Maryland, which is really struggling. Maryland right now is 9-9 overall, 1-6 in the Big Ten. Northwestern is 9-7, 2-5 in the Big Ten. And so you get through that stretch, say 4-1. All of a sudden, you're talking about an 18-5 team going into February, the middle of February, and that's where it gets interesting. So listen, I'm not going to oversell my boy Mike Woodson. You can get your Mike Woodson tee at AaronTorresOnline.com, by the way. I'm not going to oversell my boy Mike Woodson. But what I am going to say is this is the win that Indiana fans have been waiting for. I'm happy for you guys, Indiana fans. I don't care if that makes me uncool. You guys have waited a long time to celebrate like you did tonight. I hope you guys had a blast on Thursday night. I hope the head hurts on Friday. I hope Torres yelling into your speakers Friday morning is hurting your eardrums, because this was a great, great, great win.